Yo, what's up guys? We're back. We're doing another Dana White Contender Series breakdown and predictions video. This one, it's week 7, so we're kind of winding down the Dana White Contender Series season for 2023. We got 3 shows left, including this one. So hopefully we can end it 3 for 3, do really well. And I really appreciated all the likes that I got on my last prediction video, so if you guys could do that again for this video, that would be amazing. So everyone that's listening right now, man, let's try to get as many likes as possible. Let's try to get 200 likes. So it's easy, man. It's free. You just got to click the button, and it really helps me out a lot. So if you click that like button, I would really appreciate it. Put a comment down below. And besides that, this is a big week for MMA, man. I mean, we got these Bellator cards, I guess because they're kind of going through their thing. They're probably going to be selling. They haven't been putting on too many shows. They're having to pack these shows, man. I mean, there's 21 fights on this Bellator card. All the fights are good. So I'm actually pretty intrigued by that. So I'm going to be doing a Bellator breakdown on the Patreon. I'm going to be putting out bets for that show. I'm going to be putting out bets for UFC. I got a couple bets for Contender Series. And like I said at the beginning of my last video, man, I'm going to be trying to be a little bit more consistent and the year out really well. We're up about 25 units for the year, but I definitely feel like I'm better than that and want to do much better than that before the year ends. So coming off a good week last week, we're going to try to replicate that again. And let's get in this first fight of the night here. We got Igor da Silva. He's taking on Janata Silva. And first off, just before that, this whole entire Contender Series card, I feel like last week's was one of the best. This one is one of the lesser cards skill-wise. But this fight I am intrigued by with Igor da Silva and Janata Silva. Igor da Silva, he's another young gun fighter on the Contender Series this season. He's 20 years old, but he's been fighting since 2018, so he has been fighting for quite a while, even with his age. All his fights have been in Brazil. Most of them have been for Jungle Fight, and he's slowly been built up, but his last fight he beat a 9-1 fighter, and he's undefeated, so obviously he's someone that is confident right now on the rise. And with the win here, he could become one of the youngest fighters on the UFC roster. But in front of him is going to be Nova and Yao fighter Janata Silva, who is 26. He's 8-1. He hasn't lost since 2016. Currently, he's on a 5-fight winning streak. And he hasn't been very active. He had a 2-year layoff in between fights in 2017 and 2019. And then after his fight in 2019, he didn't fight again until March of this year. But he returned, didn't miss a beat. He beat an 11-3 fighter on Cage Warriors. And he's been a world traveler during his career. He's fought in multiple different countries, but this is going to be his first fight in the United States. It's going to be an opportunity to showcase himself on a big stage. So we're going to see how he does with that. And this should be an amazing fight. I feel like Janata Silva, he's a pressure fighter. He has crispy hand combos, good feints, fakes. He'll attack the body, attack the head. He is very clean. He'll throw long combinations. He's accurate. He has good speed and good kicks, too. He'll throw nice leg kicks, good head kicks. His last fight, he landed a brutal knee that earned him a finish. And defensively, he has good defense. He has good distance control. But fighters, they're going to have to kind of try to make it ugly on him to beat him. I feel like his striking is fairly high level. His wrestling is a little bit questionable. He has good get-ups, and he has to stay off his back in this fight, keep it at range if he wants to win, try to use his experience, use that maturity edge that he does have to his advantage, and pick up the victory here. For cardio, I think Silva has really good cardio. And then we got Igor da Silva here, and I'm going to call him Igor Ceferino because kind of be easier for you guys. But Igor Ceferino, he's a great athlete. He's a powerful fighter for flyweight. And he should definitely have a size advantage, I feel, in this fight. On the feet, he throws bombs. He'll throw big hooks, big overhands. He attacks the body. And he's someone that definitely has big power for the division, and he goes for it. I think on the feet, he's going to be outmatched in this fight, though. He leaves openings. He's a little bit too wild, whereas his opponent is a cleaner, more technical. And Silva does have the chance to overwhelm his opponent and get the knockout, though. Severino, I mean. And Igor Severino, he's a wrestler primarily, though. He's aggressive with the single leg, with the double leg. He can chain wrestle. And Severino also catches kicks well. When Severino gets on top, he has good ground and pound. He's aggressive with the submission game. And I'm going to slightly lean with Janata Silva here, the underdog. I think he's going to have the better striking, and he could possibly get a KO. Obviously, these guys are lighter weights, so it's tough to count on the knockout. But I just feel like he needs to avoid being on his back. And if he does get on his back, get back up to his feet quickly. And I think that Severino, he, is a little bit younger. I think the maturity is going to shine through here for Janata Silva, and that's going to be part of the reason why he wins. And I'll say he gets the victory via first or second round KO TKO in this one. I'm a little bit worried about the size because Silva has fought at 115 pounds before, and maybe he'll be a little bit overwhelmed by the size disadvantage. But I'm going to say he goes out there, he looks good, he performs well, and I do think he's overall the more experienced and more technical fighter, so I think he'll be able to get the job done. At flyweight, man, it's really tough to rely on grappling to get wins. It's hard to hold these little guys down, and I think that Igor Severino will find his way into the UFC, but I think that it's not going to be tomorrow night. And this next fight here, we got an interesting fight here with Dylan Montal. He's taking on Kyon Keski. And with Kyon Keski, he's 32. He's a Muay Thai fighter, and he has a shiny record. He's 14-1-1. Primarily, he's fought in Brazil. All 14 of his wins have came in Brazil. He's fought twice outside of Brazil. Both of those fights he lost. He fought in Finland. He got knocked out. And then he fought Damien Lapilus in France, where he lost a decision. That fight was later changed to a no contest because Lapilus popped. But it was a loss on the night for Keski. But Keski is a Muay Thai fighter. He has good pressure. He tries to tear the legs apart, nice leg kicks. I think those are going to be readily available in this fight. He looks for the left hook, and he's tall and rangy, so he'll dart in from far out with some punch combos that are fairly effective when he can get guys near the cage. He'll throw big hooks to the body. And when he hurts guys, he does look like he has killer instinct, but he isn't really someone that has the best footwork. He can struggle to land. He doesn't really feint or cut the cage off. He doesn't really bring a lot of finesse. And defensively, he's very hittable. He's been knocked out before, but he does have the style to fight wars. And if you don't knock him out, then it ends up being a long night for you and his opponent, or him and his opponent. And he did get tired in the Damien Lapilus fight because he was just missing a lot, and Lapilus's movement and footwork was giving him a lot of issues. But most of the time, he does tend to have good cardio and bring that pressure for 3 rounds. And he's also good in the clinch. I would say that's one of his better areas. He has good knees, good elbows there. He isn't a wrestler or grappler. His takedown defense is okay. I don't think it's going to be shown off in this fight. I feel like it's 2 guys that like to strike in this one. But Keski will throw up some submissions. He's a decent guillotine. And he does have 8 submission wins. So the majority of his victories have been through submitting guys. And I haven't seen a lot of his submission victories on tape, but I feel like they probably come through defensive submissions after beating guys up on the feet or club and subs. But his cardio has recently looked good. As I said, he's been getting finishes in rounds 4, round 5. But in the Lapilus fight, he did gas out. So it's a little bit questionable how he's going to do with maybe the travel really gets to him. But he's going to have a third chance here to correct that issue. And Dylan Montal, he's 30 years old. He's training with Sarah Longo, Longo and Weidman MMA. And he's 7-2. He's won 3 in a row. And he's fought okay competitions. He's fought on some decent shows, CFFC, Eagle FC. He's a tall fighter. He seems like he's basically just a boxer. He has an okay jab. His 1-2s are okay. He will loop a lot of shots, though, which leaves him open to counters. But he attacks the body. He brings the pressure. His hand speed is pretty good. Defensively, he's very limited. He has bad head movement. He doesn't check leg kicks. It doesn't seem like he throws with a lot of heat either, so he struggles to keep guys off him at times. He does have good pressure, cardio, and toughness, though. He stays in opponents' faces, and if they aren't ready cardiovascularly, his ability to attack the body and just be dangerous for as long as the fight goes does come into play. Montal is not a wrestler, though, and his takedown defense needs a lot of work. he can be taken on far too easily because he stands upright, he's flat-footed. He does have decent defensive jiu-jitsu. Like, in his last fight, he got dropped, hurt badly, and was able to lock in a guillotine and end the fight off his back from full guard. But I would say the best part right now of Montal's game is his cardio. And it's kind of a bad fight right here. Both guys, to me, are nowhere near UFC level. But I'm going to pick Keski by decision. I think he'll be aggressive, land some big shots and low kicks, just be the better fighter optics-wise, volume-wise. He probably will have the bigger moments in the fight, too. I think that Montal has a chance if he could stay technical in the midst of the chaos, try to kind of extend the fight, attack the body, and get his opponent tired. But I think Montal really only is kind of tough and can beat a certain level of guys. So I'll say Keski outworks him in kind of a low-level striking fight, picks up the win, but I don't know if he'll get the contract. And this next one, we got Toledo Alencar. She's taking on Stephanie Luciano. And with Toledo Alencar, she's 32. She's Brazilian. She's 4-0 so far. She's a little older, but that's because she's already had a full career in jiu-jitsu. She's a multiple-time world champion in gi and no gi, and she's one of the better female jiu-jitsu fighters in MMA. She has a good camp behind her with MMA Masters, and MMA Masters has slowly became one of the better MMA gyms for female fighters currently in the sport. She's only been pro since 2021. She hasn't really beaten anyone. She's only fought girls with 4 fights or less. She's never beaten a fighter with a winning record, so she hasn't really proven much, but she's training with UFC fighters in the gym, and this is the first real test for her in her MMA career. And Stephanie Luciano, she's the underdog here. She's also Brazilian, but she's much younger. She's 23 years old to Alencar's 32. And unlike Alencar, who lives and trains and has had all her fights in MMA in the U.S., she still trains out of Brazil. She's had all her fights in Brazil. She's 5-1. Currently, Luciano is the Jungle Fight champion at strawweight. And she's fought a lot harder opponents than Alencar on paper and had a lot more cage time. So those things are advantageous to her. Short notice fight for both girls. Luciano did have the full camp. She was going to fight another opponent. But even with that on her side, she's still a sizable underdog. So the odds makers don't really believe in her here, and I tend to agree. I think it's probably going to be a win for Alencar, but it's not going to be easy. Luciano, to me, is still very green, but big for the weight. She's pretty athletic. Her striking isn't really refined, but she'll throw a lot of volume out there. She's wild, can push the pace, and I think she'll even have the edge on the feet, but she always seems to crash into the clinch. And with Toledo, she's a little bit more stiff and rigid, but I would say she has a little bit more power in her hands and low volume, whereas Luciano is looser, throws a lot of shots, but no real rhyme or reason to her attacks and not a lot of power. If it stays purely stand-up, I do think Luciano wins, probably just off being a little bit more dynamic and having higher volume, but that's not what I envision happening. I think Alencar will probably be able to control the clinch, which I think Luciano always tends to find herself there and hit some clinch takedowns potentially. I also think that the single leg could potentially be there for her. And Luciano doesn't have the composure to stay off her back, I don't think. She does have a good clinch game, and that's where I think she could maybe win along with her striking if she can mix in some cage control time with the clinch and not bring it to the ground. Maybe she could win a decision that way, but I think if Alencar gets on top, she should have a big advantage, and she's methodical. She'll slowly advance position until she can take the back. She has 3 rear naked choke wins, and she also has earned a decision victory in her last fight. Luciano seems decent as a grappler, but leaves openings to be submitted, and I've seen her almost get armbarred a couple times. I've seen her give her back. She is composed, though, and she could scramble out of bad positions quickly. She's young. She has great cardio. But Alencar also looks in great shape, and I expect Alencar to be able to do what she does, use her grappling, dominate the fight. I'm not too interested in a bet on this fight. Personally, I feel like it'd be like a dog or pass, but I don't really think that Luciano really, I wouldn't bet her. So To me, I'm not too interested in that fight, but I think Alencar is going to get the win. Probably, I'll say via decision. And Jacoby Jones is trying to get in the UFC in this next fight against Daniel James Allen. And Jacoby Jones is a guy that I've been high on for a long time. I remember he was 1-0, and I was saying that I thought potentially he could find his way into the UFC, and now he's won the LFA title, and he's kind of one step away from getting there. And he's 6-1 pro fighter. He's a former college wrestler. He trains with Factory X Muay Thai. He's 27 years old, so getting right around his prime. And he's an explosive, athletic, powerful athlete. In this fight, he's going to have to be smart, because if he plays on the ground, I do think that there could be some potential issues for him, because Daniel James Allen, he's kind of hard to read. I mean, he trains with AKA. He has guys like Usman Nurmagomedov, Khabib, Cain Velasquez on his Instagram where he's training with them. So that's why I'm kind of a little worried about the ground here. But Jones is an elite wrestler, and you'll see him hit big slams, heavy ground and pound. And he has been submitted a couple times, but Daniel James Allen doesn't have any submissions on his record, and when I've seen him fight, he's more of a top game player. So I think on the feet will probably be where Jones could potentially bring it and get the contract through getting a knockout in a war. But if he does get it bring it to the ground, I think he'll probably be fine. It'll just be a little bit more interesting. But Jones, he's getting a little bit better at controlling distance, landing pull counter twos, hooks, uppercuts. He has fast hands, but he still is a little bit linear, hittable, and he isn't a high-level striker or anything. He does have nice knees and uppercuts, and I feel like he's going to be a little bit more explosive guy in this matchup here. But Daniel Allen, like I said, he's hard to break down because he has that gym behind him, and he's looked dominant in his fights. But the issue is he's fighting super low-level competition. He's only fought 4 times, and he's been inactive. I mean, he returned in March of 2023. Before that, he hadn't fought in 2.5 years. And in his fights, he's primarily used wrestling to grind it out, but he looks athletic, and he's big for the weight. He's 6'1", 75-inch reach. He's going to have a pretty big reach and height advantage in this fight. And I've seen him get a slick knockout in one of his fights where he flashed some power. He will throw some switch stance attacks, but his striking really hasn't been tested at all. So I don't know how good it is really long term. I don't know if he could take a shot. I don't know how he handles pressure or much of anything. And his last fight, he mainly just uses wrestling to smother Luis Vargas. He didn't really set his takedowns up the best, but his double leg was way too fast for his opponent, and he just got the takedowns with ease. And on top, he isn't really the most offensive guy, but he can hold fighters down, and he looks like he's in great shape, and he can just grind it out. But I really haven't seen him face any adversity whatsoever. What we do know about Daniel Allen is he's big for the weight, athletic, primarily a southpaw, but he'll switch stance, has some power, and likes to wrestle. But I think Jones probably will finish this fight just due to being the more experienced fighter, the better wrestler, I would say. I have no idea how good Allen actually is, though, so it's kind of a pure pass to me. I think the fight going inside the distance or the under 1.5 rounds is probably a safer play than anything else. But, yeah, I'll say Jacoby Jones goes in there and wins via second-round submission. And finally, we got the main event. We got Shamil Gasv. He's taking on Greg Velasco. And undefeated Russian wrestler taking on an undefeated American wrestler. Velasco, he's the CFFC champion. He's 6-0. He's a wrestler out of Rider University. Shamil Gasv, he's a Dagestani fighter who now trains out of Bahrain. 10-0 in his career. Gasv has not won a title like Velasco has, but he's fought in promotions like Brave CF, Aries FC, and he's beaten the better competition. As far as their ages go, Gasv is a little older. He's 33. Greg Velasco is 29, but I would say 33 is probably a little bit better age for heavyweight. And as far as they match up, Velasco is the much smaller guy. Even if he weighs more, it's a lot of excess weight. Gasv is going to have an 8-inch reach advantage, and he's going to be taller, physically just a bigger guy, frame-wise. Both fighters have won most of their fights through wrestling, but they flashed some striking. And recently, Gasv has came in there with a different mindset. He had a close, sloppy decision using his wrestling against a kickboxer. But then in his last 2 fights, he's gone out there and banged it out. And he doesn't really have good defense, but super tough. Like I said, he's a big guy, could take a shot, and he just walks fighters down. And his boxing offense has improved. He'll throw combinations, big power strikes, hooks, straight punches. His last fight against Darko Stosic, who's a UFC veteran, he landed a nasty one-punch knockout with an uppercut. And Stosic obviously is a former 205er, and he was towering over Stosic, and he actually got dropped as well, but he just brought that aggression, man, and if he brings that in this fight, it's going to be tough for Velasco, who's also a smaller guy, I think, to stop that. But Velasco does have a good chin, never been finished. He'll throw some pull counter crosses, you'll mix in some head kicks, some jumping attacks, but I would say both guys have kind of rudimentary defense, and the reach, hands, power are big advantages for Gasv. So on the feet, I think he's going to be having a huge edge. But Velasco has fought a lot of good wrestlers in his career, and he's been taken down a lot, even though he has that rider wrestling background. So I think Gasv probably could take down Greg Velasco at will, but Velasco is super scrappy. He doesn't accept bottom position. You'll see him hit switches and get reversals, and I think Gasv will look to strike, keep it standing, get the knockout. If it becomes a wrestling match, I think Gasv will dominate in the wrestling realm, but once it gets to the ground, if Velasco can keep scrambling, he maybe could gas Gasv out that way. I think Velasco is kind of up against it here, though. I find it tough to believe he's going to get a win. He has the better cardio, but Gasv looks like a guy who would dig deep, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him run Velasco over early. Velasco's never been finished, but I think Gasv, with this new killer be killed style he's been implementing recently, is going to knock out Velasco in the first round. I just think he's going to go out there and bring it to him, and I think it'll be killer be killed, but I think that it's going to be Greg Velasco that ends up on the highlight reel for Shamil Gasv. So give me Shamil Gasv via first round knockout in the main event of this Dana White Contender Series card. So there you have it, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Like I said at the beginning of this video, like this video up. Let's try to get as many likes as possible. I would really appreciate that. And other than that, good luck betting on this card. Good luck betting this weekend. And just make sure to stay tuned to the channel for the UFC video and any other content that I do end up dropping potentially this week. Besides that, I really appreciate all the support. Go over to Patreon, support the channel that way. I would really appreciate that too. And I think you'll get some benefits out of it yourself. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll be back soon, and I'll talk to you guys later.